Okay, so as we hop into page 77 of The Creative Act, A Way of Being by Rick Rubin, the last couple chapters I just did sitting down, mellow reading style. Like, I guess if I was going to read it to myself in a room. But in wanting to read another couple, I do have fun reading them kind of theatrically and inspired by a Def Jam and spoken word performances. And so I would love your feedback. I'm going to stay seated and see how that compares with when I'm standing. But after you've listened to this one and maybe comparing it to something like the one on self-doubt, which is just a real emotional chapter, I'd love to hear in the comments what you think. If one resonates more than the other, or maybe they just resonate differently. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it as I eventually make some kind of conclusion myself. This one's called Make It Up. Page 77. Make it up. While the emotional undercurrents of self-doubt can serve the art, they can also interfere with the creative process. Beginning a work, completing a work, and sharing a work. These are key moments where many of us become stuck. How do we move forward considering the stories we tell ourselves? One of the best strategies is to lower the stakes. We tend to think that what we're making is the most important thing in our lives and that it's going to define us for all eternity. Consider moving forward with the more accurate point of view that it's a small work, a beginning. The mission is to complete the project so you can move on to the next. That next one is a stepping stone to the following work. And so it continues in productive rhythm for the entirety of your creative life. All art is a work in progress. It's helpful to see the piece we're working on as an experiment. One in which we can't predict the outcome. Whatever the result, we will receive useful information that will benefit the next experiment. If you start from the position that there is no right or wrong, no good or bad, and creativity is just free play with no rules, it's easier to submerge yourself joyfully in the process of making things. We're not playing to win, we're playing to play. And ultimately, playing is fun. Perfectionism gets in the way of fun. A more skillful goal might be to find comfort in the process, to make and put out successive works with ease. Oscar Wilde said that some things are too important to be taken seriously. Art is one of those things. Setting the bar low, especially to get started, frees you to play, explore, and test without attachment to results. This is not just a path to more supportive thoughts. Active play and experimentation until we're happily surprised is how the best work reveals itself. Another approach to overcoming insecurities is to label them. I was working with an artist who was frozen by doubts and unable to move forward. I asked if he was familiar with the Buddhist concept of papancha, which translates as preponderance of thoughts. Papancha. This speaks to the mind's tendency to respond to our experiences with an avalanche of mental chatter. He responded, "I know exactly what that is. That's me." Now that he had a name for what was holding him back, he was able to normalize his doubts and not take them so seriously. When they came up, we'd call them panpancha. Notice them? Then move forward. I was in a meeting with another artist who had just released a very successful album, but felt afraid to do more work and listed different reasons why she didn't want to make music anymore. There are always good reasons not to continue. There are always good reasons not to continue. There are always good reasons not to continue. It's fine. You don't have to make music ever again. There's nothing wrong with that. Just stop if it's not making you happy. It's your choice. It's your choice. You don't have to. It's your choice. As soon as I said this, her expression changed. She realized she would be happier creating than not creating. Gratitude can also help. Realizing you are fortunate to be in a position that allows you to create, and in some cases get paid to do what you love, might tip the balance in favor of the work. Ultimately, your desire to create must be greater than your fear of it. Even for some of the greatest artists, that fear never goes away. One legendary singer, despite performing for over 5 decades, was never able to eliminate his stage fright. Despite a terror so strong it made him sick to his stomach, he still stepped into the spotlight each night and performed a spellbinding show. By accepting self-doubt rather than trying to eliminate or repress it, we lessen its energy and interference. It's worth noting the distinction between doubting the work and doubting yourself. An example of doubting the work would be, I don't know if my song is as good as it can be. Doubting yourself might sound like, I can't write a good song. These statements are worlds apart, both in accuracy and in impact on the nervous system. Doubting yourself can lead to a sense of hopelessness, of not being inherently fit to take on the task at hand. All or nothing thinking is a non-starter. Let's read that again. All or nothing thinking is a non-starter. However, doubting the quality of your work might at times help to improve it. You can doubt your way to excellence. If you have an imperfect vision of the work you really love, you may find that when it finally seems perfect, you don't love it the same way. This is a sign the imperfect version was actually the one. The work is not about perfection. One thing I learned through having spell check is that I regularly make up words. I'll type a word and then the computer will tell me it doesn't exist. Since it sounds like what I'm aiming to say, I sometimes decide to use it anyway. I know what it means, and perhaps the reader will understand the meaning better than if I used an actual word. The imperfections you're tempted to fix might prove to be what make the work great, and sometimes not. We rarely know what makes a piece great. No one can know. The most plausible reasons are theories at best. Why is beyond our comprehension. The Leaning Tower of Pisa was an architectural error, which builders further exacerbated by trying to fix. Now, hundreds of years later, it's one of the most visited buildings in the world precisely because of this mistake. In Japanese pottery, there's an artful form of repair called kintsugi. When a piece of ceramic pottery breaks, rather than trying to restore it to its original condition, the artisan accentuates the fault by using gold to fill the crack. This beautifully draws attention to where the work was broken, creating a golden vein instead of the flaw diminishing the work, it becomes a focal point, an area of both physical and aesthetic strength. The scar also tells the story of the piece, chronicling its past experience. We can apply this same technique to ourselves and embrace our perfections. Whatever insecurities we have can be reframed as a guiding force in our creativity. They only become a hindrance when they prevent our ability to share what's closest to our heart. Art creates a profound connection between the artist and the audience. Through that connection, both can heal.